What is up, gamers? I'm SirMav and welcome to another weapon guide video. This time around, we're going to go over the weapon damage table for Call of Duty Black Ops 4, specifically within the Battle Royale mode, Blackout. I'm going to be honest here, I haven't played a ton of multiplayer within this game. I just simply have more interest in more friends that play the Battle Royale mode, Blackout, so that's generally what I play when I'm on COD. But if you know me or you've watched most of my videos, you'll know that I like to have an advantage on my opponent when in a match, and that plays into understanding the weapons within any first-person shooter. It's kind of just my competitive nature and general interest in analyzing data and game mechanics within shooter games I play. So within this video, I'm going to provide you with a complete overview of the general weapons within the game so that you can have a better understanding of each weapon, whether it's an assault rifle, SMG, sniper rifle, etc. Plus, nobody from what I could find on YouTube has gone over these weapons in over 8 to 10 months, so I figured it's time for an update. I'll also give you an understanding of bullet velocity and a short overview on the attachments within the game and how they help you acquire an advantage over your opponent. As I'm going to be focusing on the main game mode of Blackout, I won't be covering any weapons within Blackjack's stash that you would find in other game modes like Pandemic. Maybe in a future video if there's enough demand for it. So if you enjoyed this info and content, be sure to drop this video a like and tap fire subscribe for more, as I will definitely be providing a weapon guide on the new Modern Warfare title coming out in October. Alright, so within this video, I'm not going to go into crazy detail as I would as covering a new weapon within BF5 or Apex, but I will provide some detail on the best assault rifle within the game based on the data. But don't worry, all the info will be available to you within a full table linked within the description box below, as I do with any other weapon guide video, so you can gorge in it to your heart's desire. Really, this video will be more about understanding the data I'm presenting to you so that you can make a more informed decision on which gun you'll take over another. Assault rifles are of course the easiest because it's the most versatile category that players use within Blackout, as the majority of engagements will take place up close or at mid-range. Plus, assault rifles can be found anywhere and everywhere on the map, so it's usually the primary weapon a gamer within Blackout will use throughout the entirety of a match. On the other hand, your secondary weapon really depends on your playstyle or what you're going for within that match. If you're going for more of a close range playstyle this match, then you would be considering looking for a SMG, shotgun, or even a pistol in some cases. If mid to long range is more your thing, then you'll either be in search of a tactical rifle, LMG, or the almighty sniper rifle. Which, after doing these tests, I found that sniper rifles are definitely quite rare to find out on the map, by far the hardest category to find across the major loot areas across the map. And if you're wondering why LMGs are in the long range list, it's due to the range that LMGs have within the game. Light machine guns actually have the second lowest damage drop-off compared to all other categories within the game besides sniper rifles, which of course will have the lowest damage drop-off due to their range capabilities. Another thing to consider when selecting your primary and secondary is the ammo that the gun is using. Just like in real life, each caliber of bullet has a specific muzzle velocity. And if you don't know what muzzle velocity is, it's the speed at which the bullet travels through the air after it's been fired from the barrel of the gun. This is important because this plays into how quickly that bullet will reach its intended target after being fired, which plays into how far ahead you should lead a running target and the gun's bullet drop at different distances. In assault rifles, between the 5.56 and the 7.62 rounds, the difference is extremely minuscule between the two. And it's important to note that this is the case for all 5.56 and 7.62 guns within the game. For instance, the bullet velocity for the KN and the Auger DMR, which both use 7.62 rounds, is exactly the same. The only difference between these guns is a slight difference in range, which I found surprising that the Auger had a quicker drop-off on damage over the KN, which honestly shouldn't surprise me because while playing Blackout, I tend to find the KN having the ability to out-DPS the Auger even at distance. Which, from an original video that was put out 10 months or so ago, led me to believe that the KN really didn't have that much distance, say over something like the Rampart. When in fact, according to Treyarch team themselves, unless this was changed in some patch notes later on, they state in the game that they have the exact same range. But after testing, it does seem that the Rampart has a slightly longer range over the KN before the damage drops off, so I would put the KN at more of a 9 than the 10 clicks it was given for range, but again, it's quite minuscule. So after more testing, I found that muzzle velocity goes from fastest to slowest through the following range of calibers. Fastest bullet in the game is the .338 caliber round, followed by the heavier 50 cal, and this is a very small difference between the two rounds, by 100th of a second difference in fact. After that, you have the 5.56mm round, then the 7.62mm round. Again, very minuscule difference between the two at 100th of a second, just like the previous two calibers mentioned. And not surprisingly, the slowest rounds were followed by the 9mm and the 45 caliber rounds. Now, just to clarify once again, muzzle velocity isn't acquainted to each gun separately. Every 7.62 gun, as stated before, will have the same muzzle velocity without any attachments. I know because I tested this as well with the Rampart and KN, which I just stated have the same range, roughly same damage, and utilize 7.62mm rounds. The bullet velocity came out exactly the same between the two. One thing I did find interesting though is how the barrel attachments change up the velocity of the rounds in your gun. For instance, it states on a fast mag that it increases reload speed by 33%. Fairly easy to calculate and understand this advantage without having to actually test it out. But the suppressor and extended barrel don't really give their all-around pros and cons within their description. We know the benefits of the suppressor. It minimizes our tracer rounds, making it harder for our opponent to spot us and hear us. But what it doesn't tell you is that having a suppressor will reduce your muzzle velocity by 5% and decrease range at which damage drop-off starts to take effect. On the other hand, the extended barrel does state that it improves muzzle velocity, but doesn't state by how much. Well, through testing, I found that it increases the muzzle velocity by exactly 15%, which is definitely a significant amount when in those mid-range engagements, and it also extends the damage drop-off range of your gun. So the extended barrel is more your friend in mid-range engagements when you need to lead your targets and ensure you can take them down quickly, while the suppressor makes your rifle more of an up-close engagement weapon. Now, I didn't place shotguns in these velocity tests because they are more utilized at close range. You shouldn't be using these weapons at range where they have little to no impact against your opponent. What I did find interesting though was the extended barrels are definitely your friend when it comes to shotguns, as this not only improves the muzzle velocity of your weapon as it states in the game, but further expands the range of damage. Given a shotgun like the Rampage that has absolutely atrocious range, an extended barrel is definitely needed to ensure optimal damage at distance. I mean, you literally have to be right up on that person's ass for it to deliver its full impact of 61 damage to its target. To sort of test this, I utilized the parking spaces to identify the damage drop-off for shotguns. So for instance, the Rampage within 1 or 2 parking spaces will deliver its full amount of damage, but once you get further than that, the damage drops off rapidly. You double that distance to 4 parking spaces and you've already halved your damage output of that shotgun with the stock barrel. So say you go up against a player using a Smg which has over double the range of a Rampage. I don't care how fast the fire rate of the Rampage is, your opponent is going to take you down with ease and with health to spare. But let's be honest, Smg is bae, especially with an extended barrel and a fast mag attached to it. So when you actually get into the damage table, linked down in the description box below, all this information I just explained along with the max damage per bullet, rate of fire, and magazine size play a key role in figuring out which gun you should equip. But remember, it's not everything. Range, sometimes reload speed, and recoil play a big role in your decision as well. But in all honesty though, once you get a fully kitted or tacked out weapon in Blackout, recoil becomes less of an issue. Sure, each gun has recoil within this game, but for the most part, aside from some SMGs of course, there is little to no recoil within this game. Especially once you get a foregrip and stock attachment on your gun, especially for assault rifles, they become laser beams at distance. Another factor you need to consider is what level of armor your opponent has. In Blackout, armor is not extra health like in Apex Legends, but instead accounts for actual damage mitigation. Even if you are wearing level 1, you will still mitigate 26% of the damage you will take until that armor goes out. With level 2 armor, you will mitigate a third of that damage that impacts you, at 34% to be exact. But this is just shots to the body. If someone impacts your head, you will still take the full brunt of the damage. As an example, let's take the KN-47. This assault rifle does 38 damage to the body and 40 to the head at roughly 20 meters out. 7 parking spaces if you will, as I'm guessing on the range based on the distance in other games, as Call of Duty unfortunately doesn't have a proper ping system in place to identify distance with. Regardless, if your opponent has level 2 armor equipped, you will now only do about 24 damage per bullet to the body, but you'll still do 40 to the head. So this is why headshots become quite important, because unless you just dropped on the map, your opponent is likely to have armor of some kind equipped. And the only way to get head protection is through the rare find of level 3 armor on the map, which mitigates 33% of the damage you take. And that's mitigated from your head. You get the same 34% mitigation of the body with level 3 as you would with level 2. But this head mitigation is definitely useful, especially if you take a paladin shot to the dome. You'll be brutally injured, but you'll still be alive. But even with level 3 equipped, TTK is still very low, as with most Call of Duty games, and with most weapons at the 20 meter range, you'll be able to take down an opponent in less than a second. In cases of the Paladin, Outlaw, Koshka, and Smg at their respective distances, they can each one-shot a player at the dome, so TTK is insignificant here as you'll immediately down the opponent in one shot. But do keep in mind though that in cases like with the Outlaw or even the Koshka, since damage will likely start dropping off around the 100-meter mark, you may not be able to down someone in one hit to the head as the damage drops the further you go out. This of course makes the extended barrel a much needed accessory for all sniper rifles to ensure optimal damage at longer distances. Alright, so now that we have an understanding of all the data within the table I'm providing you, let's get into which assault rifle is likely the best based on the data. Well, in reality, given that TTK is so low within Blackout, any assault rifle will be great at mid-range, but if you want absolute advantage against your opponents, there are 3 rifles that stand out. The KN57, Vapor XKG, and the SWAT RFT have a distinct advantage over the other assault rifles within the game at mid-range. The Grav is not far behind these guns either. For the longest time I honestly thought the Rampart was alpha within the assault rifle category, and don't get me wrong, it's not a bad gun at all. It just seems to have a better use at range due to its accuracy and slow fire rate that would place you at a disadvantage against an opponent with a SWAT in close quarters. And of course, if you can't maintain accuracy with your rifle, then the data I provide you really means jack. So recoil comes into play as well, which is why you will see every gun's recoil displayed as we talk through the rest of the details from the data. For the most part, I've been using the KN for a while now as my primary weapon, but honestly had no idea till I ran the test on how much of an advantage it had against other rifles. For one, its damage allows it to sustain the same DPS output as the Vapor and SWAT with their faster fire rates, but it has a manageable recoil, especially once you acquire the proper attachments. It is also the only assault rifle that can utilize the extended fast mag. Meaning, not only can you acquire 50% more ammo from its stock 35 bullet mag, but you can reload 33% faster than those with a regular or extended magazine. But again, that's my playstyle. At the end of the day, it still all comes down to preference really, as the TTK values are so low it really stands on who gets the first shot off, or which team is maintaining the best accuracy against their opponents. And by the way, if you're looking for accuracy, the Rampart and ICR, although on the lower end TTK wise, have the least amount of recoil of all the assault rifles in the game. If we go into the SMGs, the Damien and Switchblade are really the standout submachine guns. The Damien is the more standout to me as the Switchblade has way more recoil than the other gun, but again, it's still manageable. So as stated before, this all comes down to preference depending on your playstyle, but all the data within the table will provide you with a better understanding of which guns have a clear advantage over others within the game. But with that gamers, I am out. Let me know down in the comments what loadout you like to use within Blackout. Has the data changed your mindset on some of the guns you would use on a regular basis within Blackout? And if you have any questions on the data or have anything else you'd like me to test, just let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and tap fire subscribe if you found the video helpful. But until next time gamers, this is SirMav, signing off.